Hello, and yes, good afternoon to another seminar at Camera Image 2021. My name is Sebastian Leske. I'm the product marketing manager for Sony Europe. And for us, yeah, it has been a very exciting week so far with the announcement of the Venice 2 and then also another seminar on Tuesday with Robert McLachlan and Braden Haggerty. And yeah, today we will finish our series of seminars here with Xavier Dolléans. Welcome.
Hello. Hello, hello.
So, yeah, thanks for joining. And the webinar, the seminar, not webinar, but webinar could be the same because we are live streaming. So the seminar is about his recent production, so the TV series or miniseries Germinal, and where he used the Venice for it. And I would say before going into this, please introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you. So I'm Xavier Dolléans. I'm a French cinematographer. I come from Paris, and I shot mostly TV series. And I shot commercials, I shot documentaries, I shot many things, but those last years I shot mostly TV series. So I shot the TV series Scam France, 6 seasons, so like 60 episodes. And I shot the TV series Mental, 10 episodes of it, and I shot another TV series called Red Shadows, 6 episodes of 52 minutes, and I shot several series who are considered like small budget, and Germinal was for me the first big project actually. It's a 12 million euros project, so it's 2 million euros by episode, so it's kind of a big project for the French TV network.
So before watching the trailer, because we have the trailer with us, let us, or can you give us a kind of introduction of the base of Germinal, because it's based on the book?
Yeah, Germinal is based on the book from Émile Zola. It's a very classic book of the French literature, and it's very famous, already adapted several times. It tells the story of miners in the north of France who are going to go against the chief, the bourgeois world, and everything. It's a kind of, there is a guy coming from Lille, and he's driving the movement with revolutionary ideas. So it's kind of a political things, and it was nice to do it for the French TV network too. And the good thing also is, I have to say, this is very interesting to adapt very long books, because this is a 700 pages book. And this is very good to adapt it as a TV series format. This is because it was released actually at the time between 1884 and 1885 in several parts, and they were stitched together to make the Germinal book after. So it's very funny to do series with something written as a series.
I would say let's play the trailer.
Yeah.
So for everyone who wants to see the pilot, because the trailer is really amazing, it will be screened today at 8:15 at the Cinema City. So you can see it also in the program. Let's run the trailer and then let's dive into the details.
Comme vous pouvez le voir, j'ai baissé les coûts d'exploitation. Du coup, malgré la crise, nous avons atteint les objectifs fixés.
À partir du mois prochain, chaque berline sera payée 2 centimes de moins.
Camarades, vos revendications sont justes et la justice ne se demande pas, elle s'impose.
Les mineurs sont en route, des centaines de toute la région.
Seul un idiot quitte la partie avant d'encaisser ses gains.
On n'a pas fait tous ces sacrifices pour rien. On va jusqu'au bout parce qu'on n'a plus rien à perdre. T'as dit que c'était la guerre, tu te rappelles? La voilà la guerre, la voilà.
La seule solution pour que les patrons nous respectent, c'est l'union des mineurs. Alors maintenant, vous avez le choix. Soit vous êtes avec nous, soit vous êtes avec les patrons. Mais il n'y a pas d'entre-deux.
So, yeah, very impressive. As you can see, the images are not easy to capture because a lot of scenes are under the earth, or in the, representing
water,
the miners. So let's start about your process of getting to the Venice, because this was shot on the Venice. You also used the Rialto. So how you went with the start of the project that you're going to shoot Gemini, to go with the Venice?
Yeah, actually, I have already shot several projects with the Venice before, and I like to test everything again before every project. So I took every professional camera available, and I shot very simple tests with a simple candle, actually. And I pushed the ISO just to watch what I have at the maximum and into the blacks. And so I was very curious about that, because I knew I needed something like that to be able to work with flames and to work with very precise color into the low light and into the low end part of the signal. So I choose, the first choice was about the low light work. And then I realized that the Venice is also very good because of the Rialto, and I had to shoot in a very tiny spaces, the mines. So that was interesting, because I've already shot a complete TV series only with the Rialto, but for another idea to have something very light, because the director was used to the to the Canon 5D Mark II. He was from YouTube and he wanted something very light, so I took the Sony Venice only in the Rialto mode, and I did something with that. And now it was a bit more about working in tiny spaces. So so I say low light capabilities. The Rialto. We had also many configurations about cranes, running, Steadicam, handled, underwater housing. So the modularity of the body of the camera was also really important. So then the camera ticked all the boxes. So I say, I go with the Sony Venice because of the challenges I had.
So regarding the underwater, we have at the end, we have some stills, or Xavier brought some stills, because this is also very special. So let's take a look on some of the images he brought.
This is one of the challenges was the idea was to have the color emerging slightly from the blacks, because we wanted to make kind of a parallel between the revolution coming from the mine. So we had a lot of situations like that with very subtle colors in low light, and I've done several tests with other camera, and that one is very good in the low light. So I wanted this kind of finesse, The candle was also, and flames were also very present. So having the Venice was very nice to shoot this way.
So do you remember what kind of ISO value you have used for these kind of shots? So
for this one, I was really afraid because it was a really big setup. So I cover myself a lot, I have to say. So this is a normal ISO situation. This is 2500. But for example, for this kind of situation, that's crazy because this is a tiny space actually. So you can think that it's going to be easier, but this is probably not, because the source you are using in a mine like this, you have to justify from where it comes, And all the miners were always holding the lamps, no lamps on the side. So you have to try to find some tricks, to light. So probably here it was something around 3,200. But I like to push the camera. I can go up to 6,400. No problem at all. I'm working with my colorist, and we work on the noise and we clean things. So I like to use it this way too. I can use it this way too.
So what was very special for me, and perhaps let's jump on the left-hand side of the script already. What was very new for me, because you put a lot of effort into creating this mood.
Yeah.
So you really went into a mood board, a mood book, let's say, where you put a lot of thoughts about, how I want to create the look, how I want to create the look of the surface, of the metals, on this kind of stuff. So is this a common way you are working when prepping productions?
I try to prepare a lot. I'm a guy, I'm negotiating prep weeks, a lot, with line producer. So yeah, I like to have time to prep. So Germinal was a very big project for me, so I asked for time, but I had plenty of time to prepare it. And we work with a classic mood board, actually. The Germinal mood board is 100 pages, so it's a big mood board with a lot of themes. But yeah, we worked like at the beginning of 2020, just before COVID, and we with the director David Hourrègue, we did a lot of research, historical research, but also visual research, and it was very interesting to see some similarities with the Western, you know, because the north of France, the countryside, the corons, the small houses made of red brick, it's like you have the main street like in the Western, and you have the dirt, and you have yeah, some similarities, beautiful sky. So yeah, we did a mood board, and one of the themes of the mood board was the coal, you know. This is kind of picture, probably, yeah, this is the beginning of 20th century, but it's not so far, and you have those kind of things. So it made me think about this kind of picture from Sebastião Salgado. And this is my north, actually, in Brazil, in the 80s. And Salgado shot, we can recognize instantly the picture from Salgado because of this metallic, you know, black and white. And when I was, yeah, I was thinking, oh, it could be good to have this kind of feeling into the black, you know. So we put some references. This is other references from Pierre Soulages, a French artist, working a lot on the black and on the shades into the black. And the shininess of the under black and everything you can have in between. This is very interesting work. So I did some research on the film used by Sebastião Salgado. That was the Kodak 3X 320. Kodak changed the formula in 2007. And then Salgado moved to digital at that time. Kodak said that they probably take less halogenure, silver halogenure, you know. So the blacks are not the same, and Salgado decided to change, to move to digital. The rendition of the blacks are not always, this is not only the film, this is also linked to printers, actually. He has very good printers. So, but the idea was to try to use this very specific contrast. So I bought on eBay outdated 3X 320 from the beginning of, from the end of the 90s, I think. I determined, you know, the level of blacks just to compensate the outdated. And then we shot this parallel test actually with the Sony Venice and my medium format Pantacon 6 loaded with the film. And the picture you can see up is a reference of contrast. And I worked in prep with my colorist and a color scientist coming from Eclair. Eclair was a French laboratory. And so the color scientist, her name is Florine Bell, and my colorist is Karim El Qatari. They work together actually into Eclair, and so now they are freelance. And we try to create that look. And I say, okay, I want this contrast, this black and white contrast, and I want to add some green tint into low lights. I want also something about all the flames, and Karim told me that previously he did something about adding some yellow into everything about gas flame highlights, actually. So we melt together, we melt everything into this kind of formula LUT, as we say.
So how often have you repeated this process to say, okay, make the first cooking?
Yeah.
Take a look.
Yeah. We took a previous image I've done on another documentary, historic period documentary. We then tested one LUT, and then Florine added the contrast, and then we have done some tests with actors, showing to everybody what we are going to do about fabrics, about micro contrast that we are creating in the low part of the curve, actually. And then we go back to Def Light as a post-house facility, and we tweak again a little bit, because I told to Florine, okay, we have some issues into skin tones. Everything is good. I have the green, I have everything, but you have to clean the skin tone. And she tell me, no worries, skin tones are always good with me. And she give me 2 looks, one for day, one for night, and I work with that. So this is kind of metallic things into the contrast that we created. And that was very interesting to work this way, because it's very hard, as you know, to grade something from a standard look S709 or Rec 709 and to go here in terms of contrast. This is a big gap. So if the producers, if the director is used to this look very soon, this is for French TV network, this is not for Netflix, you know, so you have to pay attention to what you do. And then you can go, because everyone is aware about where you go. And it's kind of a philosophic, you know, directing the photography. Director of photography is to direct the photography, and for me is to direct during the whole chain.
But that means that once this look was defined,
yeah.
So when you started to shoot,
yeah.
you put it in as a lookup table and,
yeah.
and use this all the time. So
yeah,
there was
yeah.
no change afterwards.
No, just a slight adjustment into the low light for some set. And the funny thing is, it was actually very hard to light, because the blacks were so crushed that, not crushed, but very low. I had to put some low, I have to add some lights into the low end of the curve to make things happen into the black. So then when you take off the LUT, everything is so bright, you know, and then you put the LUT, and this is, but it was very interesting. Also for post-production, because the low end of the signal was very clean.
So, the lenses you have used for the production,
yeah.
was this decision made beforehand,
yeah.
or has this also influenced by
yeah.
the look you wanted to
Actually,
create?
we wanted some Western, so we took about anamorphic very soon, and I wanted full-frame anamorphic, but it was not really available, or maybe too expensive, or with the director we like to work with 2 sets of lenses, prime lenses, so no zoom. So we needed to have 2 sets of anamorphics, and it could be kind of 5 months, 6 months shooting it. The rental company is not always happy with that for a TV, you know, project. So yeah, I did probably 20 lens tests, full frame spherical, super certified spherical, and then the full frame anamorphic was very nice. The Cook actually was very nice. But the Cook 1.8 anamorphic, but it was really too heavy and very expensive for the rental company. So we finally decided to go with the Atlas Orion lenses. And the funny thing is that everybody was telling me, okay, this is cheap lenses, and I say, okay, I don't care if the image is good for me, with a lot of artifact, and I can manage artifact playing with the T-stop actually. So yeah, it was a kind of, and Atlas Orion is super certified, so this is not the full frame I wanted. I have already shot in full frame for TV before, in spherical, so now it was kind of, okay, this is super certified, but this is anamorphic for TV, so we are really happy. And Atlas Orion, they were nice because you can play with the softness between 2.8 and 4. I never used something under 2.8, T2.8. And yeah, it was kind of very, very interesting lenses. They are lightweight, available. The housing is mainstream, if I can say.
Shall we ask the audience if there are already some questions? So we cannot see you at the moment because of that. Here we are. So yeah, if you have any questions already to Xavier, please, we have a microphone over here. Just a second.
No, you mean for this show? I think things were done probably a wide shot on the 40, and then we are going to close up on the 65. And the funny thing, I don't like the deformation of anamorphic, you know. So I never use the short focal length. All the wide shots were done with a Leica 15mm. I switched to spherical for very large shots, you know. Everybody is happy, I'm happy, no deformation. The director is happy, the VFX team is happy too, because lots of VFX shots are wide most of the time. So, but that's a good question. It was kind of 15 millimeter and go 65 sometimes also.
Hi, Xavier.
Hello.
Sorry. It's great you mentioned Florine. She's great.
Yeah, you know her? Okay.
I used to work with them in ECLA.
Okay.
So I spent like 4 years in there.
Yeah. She is now with MPC London into the VFX.
She was just great. Yeah. And also Cedric Lejeune was helping for her. I got a question about grading for you. Are you preferring to grade on big theater or small screen?
That's a very good question, actually. I'm doing TV series, so I grade on TV, standard TV. But when you do something like that, you have to think about theater, because we had actually several screenings on big screen. And we did a test in Paris on the bigger one, you know, in, help me, no, the big one is, I don't remember the name, but it was really big. It was too dark, actually. And because when in projection, we on Germinal, as you can see, you have very, very big part of the picture into the black, into the darkness. And if you have only small white things, everything is washed out into the gray. So we had to do a trim pass, a special trim, just to make things a bit shinier, actually, for the big screen.
Yeah, because if it's for TV, it's a Rec 709, or you keep a P3. So then on the projector should be at least 16-foot Lamberts. Yeah. The projector is always set for the 14-foot Lamberts. Okay.
The Germinal was done in ACES, color space. That was very important for me to be into ACES format, to be able to use the ACES, I mean, in terms of color. So the only thing we didn't do is HDR.
Do we have any other questions so far regarding the look development? Oh, one over there. Because I said, when we had the chat yesterday during lunch about the seminar, I was really impressed about how much time you put into the mood, into the look creation.
It took time,
Yes, please.
Hi, I have a question regarding the choice between the lens and the camera. And what comes first? Because you said you tested many lenses, you tested many cameras. But what did you choose first? Did you choose like the package of them together, like this lens fits with this camera?
No.
Or did you go to the camera
I
first?
always try to choose the camera first. Okay. I do some tests with very, very simple lenses, you know, because I like to compare, I like to see things like how the camera behaves into the low end, into blacks. I like to understand how it behaves on faces, on the dynamic range. I like to compare very, simple things with the color charts and everything. And I say, okay, in normal condition, you can't see any differences between the Raptor or LF or Sony Venice. But when you start to push things a little bit in a way or in another, you can see some differences. So, and then once I choose the camera, then I go to lenses, This is a very important couple, but I chose one first and then the other.
And you shot in XOCN?
Yeah, we shot in XOCN standard, ST. And then I told to my camera assistant, okay, when I push further away, when I go to 3200, for example, please switch to XT automatically. Don't ask me. Because we know that we have a better quality in low light, so please do it, And it's easier to fine-tune the grain, also the noise. Sorry.
Hi.
Please.
Salut Xavier.
Yeah, it's working.
Salut Xavier.
Hello.
Hi everyone. It's not directly linked to the camera and the lenses. Can you talk a bit about your prep regarding costumes and makeup?
Yeah, we did the first part of the prep without costume and makeup, and then we did a big test with hair, makeup, actors, and like a big day, and we were testing different look from flowing. We had one day for the costumes and makeup, and I had maybe 10 days for the rest of the technical part. But it's very expensive actually to have Guillaume de Tonquédec, to have a French famous actor. So you can't take them like 10 days. But we shot also. That was very interesting because the costume designer Thierry Delettre, he is very known, and he was looking very precisely, and he told me, "Oh, okay, this is your look. I don't need to go into that part because this is so black, you know. Some subtleties were not visible." So he told me, "Oh, okay, I will push this. I will try something different on that." Oh, okay, and we were really discussing on set and changing the LUTs, and he was working with us actually. That's why, and then we check the dailies every day, and we discuss about that. He told me sometimes, "Oh, I can't see enough the red on the dress. Can you do something on the next sequence, probably?" And yeah, we were like following. We did some black faces test because we had some sequences with rain, and okay, we told that it's okay. The rain is okay on face. It's going to rain and wash the faces. Actually, it didn't happen, so we had to do some tests, and with a fixed makeup and makeup that can run away. And then with water, you have the feeling that some parts fall apart, but actually this is fixed makeup, and this is removable makeup. And we did some tests about the shininess of things, and also the coal. This is very, very hard to find some coal in France. So actually, I did not remember about that, but the coal came from Poland, like 25 tons of fresh coal taken by hand, because it was most of the time with machine now. So we needed to change a little bit the size and the form of each block. And 25 tons is nothing actually. When you do wide shots, it's kind of okay. Please, VFX, help us.
Any other questions? So, what was also, because you mentioned the water, the makeup running down.
Yeah.
You also had a very special. It was one of the key scenes, I would say, where you flooded the mine, which was underwater shooting at the end. Can you show us some of these pictures, please?
Yeah, I'm going directly to this part. Underwater, yeah. Oh, so, yeah. So we used, it was a big challenge also to shoot underwater. In France, we don't have big water tanks. So we moved to Belgium, into the Lights facility, studios. This is a big studio. And the good thing is this is probably 9 meters deep. And you see the grid on the surface. And you build your set on the grid, and then you can take your set underwater. And you can change the eye during the day as much as you want, actually. And this is so nice for what we wanted to do. So you see, this is the set of the mine. This is the exterior view. We did some waterproofing for everything because it was LED. And we shot water and air. And we also shot underwater with those kind of housing. So we had 4 cameras and 4 sets of Atlas Orion lenses to be ready for everything. It was new actually to shoot this way. Plus we had water effects on top of us for rain, to make the rain from the roof. And also I asked to Wim Michels. Wim Michels is from SBC. I don't know if you know him, but he's owning this set actually, and he's kind of an advisor. And he told me, and I told him, okay, can you help me? Because lighting those tiny space underwater is going to be kind of strange, you know? And he told me, oh, I never really did that. Oh, I did that with a submarine, for example, but you have a justification of light. Again, this is very, very hard to light something without any justification at the end of the 19th century when you are with the roof and the wall left, the right left, and everything into the frame, and you have to light, but everything is so compact and close. So we discuss a lot with the director about how actors coming, enter into the frame, going to somewhere, can we follow them, etc., etc. And we had to actually build our own lightings. I don't know if, well, no, I have no picture, but you can see behind there is kind of a soft box. We had to build this soft box from scratch with Astera tubes, because the funny thing is this is kind of a water and air shooting, like on Titanic. So when you go underwater, like this is easy, because you put something big, something very hard, you know, like this. And this studio is equipped with the LED panel, RGB, and you can change. So I tinted the water like in green. This is straight out from the camera, actually. This is and plus a very hard punch of tungsten. And but to do this, it's a bit more complicated, because everything has to be waterproofed. But at the same time, this is exactly the same things I used into the mines, the dry one, because we shot 3 weeks in dry mines. So I already had a few like gadgets, you know, I like the Fabric Light 90 by 90 centimeters, Aladdin 30 by 30 centimeters into a China bowl, for example. So I told to my gaffer, okay, please, we need to change, we need to waterproof everything. And also I realized when I visited this set that Wim Mitchell's, for example, had underwater par, you know, par 64. And so I said, okay, probably I'm going to use those par into bounds at the end of the galleries instead of sky panel. So I moved back to France and I said to everybody, okay, I'm going to change my plan for all the mines. Everything is going to be par 64 with bounds. So it will be kind of there will be kind of a continuity into lighting between the dry part and the wet part. And we had to waterproof everything. So this is, for example, those bulbs. We changed them for low voltage bulbs, isolated. And the soft boxes were done with Astera tubes into Hydroflex housing. And I put 10 of them into the fabric light structure. And I put the tissue fabric again on top of that. It was kind of very heavy, but I had my soft box, because you don't have so many soft boxes to work underwater. You have to try to find some solution, you know. And I didn't want to have like, you know, diffusion plus flags plus everything. I wanted my soft box that I like with the grid and everything. So we also did a small China ball with a plastic ball, white plastic ball. You know, you can buy into furniture, you know, and we put some light gear LED inside, and everything was waterproofed by our art department.
The Venice was just in the standard underwater housing, so perhaps same as what was used on other productions as well. So this was nothing special for the Venice.
You mean the Venice, yeah, on the rigging inside? Yeah. No. We used scuba cam. This scuba cam you can see here. This is a semi-rigid housing, you know, and for underwater, really underwater, use those very rigid under. Yeah, this is not only for Venice, I think. This is underwater housing from lights, and they were adapted to be remotely controlled, because you can, the very good thing from Sony, you can control everything through Ethernet. So we did this kind of full control from the ground, and everything was changed through Ethernet interface. It was very, very useful. And they did everything. They changed the cable to have the Ethernet into this cable, so they did a customization for us.
So one thing which you also mentioned during the talk yesterday, you said, in terms of changes, because you said with your director, there was a kind of, let's call it special setting, how you use the ND filter, because just in order to be quick.
Yeah.
So tell us more about this one.
That's a funny thing. I will show you something. You see, this is lamp test. This is just a flame, a regular flame, and then I try to mimic this because with LED, because as you can see, even it is a flame and this is a Venice. You can't, with a normal flame, you can't do anything. But as you mentioned, there is always an ND3 on my test, and you can say, but why there is an ND3? We need, but no. In fact, I had to find the good setting because the director always wants to be able to go to 50 FPS. So I do all my lightings all the time with an ND3 on. Night, so my camera assistants, they know. I arrived, ND3 on. So this is most of the time with 2500 base ISO. And so I do my lightings at, let's say, 1250 ISO. This is fine enough for most situations. And then, if you ask me, oh, can we go, with a smile, you know, oh, can we go to 50 FPS, please? And this is a large set with screens everywhere at night, and I say, okay, let's have a stop more. But that's very good because you are not pushing the ISO to something like 5000, where there is some noise issues that you have reduce after the shoot. So working this way is very interesting. Internal ND, very fast and very high ISO you can work with. And this is kind of a trick. And I think this director, David, if he had to work with another camera, it could be a bit more complicated, you know what I mean? Because he's very used to this process of just switching your ND and being ready to shoot 50 or more, because when you shoot 50 without the ND, you can push to 5000 and shoot like 100 FPS if you want. So it's kind of good in between.
Any new questions came to your mind you want to ask Xavier? No? Oh, so everything is well explained. So as you said, so for the mine, you have created your look with the color scientist and use the lookup table, which was also the same for the underwater scenes.
Yeah, I asked for some slightly adjustment, but finally we didn't use the adjustment. So yeah, that was the same. But it was a night time actually.
But while watching now on the BTS, which is then the other part of the movie, I would say, of the series.
Yeah,
so where the wine colors are going against.
Yeah, this is about lighting balloons. I use a lot the lighting balloons. Actually, I was technician for Airstar in France during 5 or 6 years. So I was the lighting technician. I work on a very huge movie like Hugo Cabret, like Midnight in Paris, like it's for those DOP like Robert Richardson, Darius Khondji, they love the lighting balloons. So now I bought few of, I have 2 balloons, small one. This is a 1.60 m, but this is very useful actually. This is more an inside balloon, this one, but for tables, for example, you don't have to rig. You don't have to, this is, so I use balloon on a huger scale. This is not mine actually, this one, or this one, this is not mine, this is a big one. I like, with a balloon, there is always something, it could be the key light. For example, here, this is a key light of the scene. When you think about your balloon, this is a key light. And you can also use it as a fill light. For example, here this is fill light, or here this is fill light. This is not really key, you can't see, but I have this big crane lighting all the trees, and the balloon was filling in. So this is always good when you take a balloon, because I have seen so many DPs like making mistakes or Or let's say, okay, no, the balloon was coming, and you say, okay, I don't need the balloon finally. This is too big, or this is too bright, or this is not matching my lighting package. This is important to think about this. How I am going to use it. Is it going to be my fill light, or is it going to be my key light? In case it's going to be your fill light, you need it to be dimmable, for example, and to have this ability. And most of them are still HMI, so the dimming capabilities are not so, perfect for an HMI. But this is big tools, but I was talking with Philippe Rousselot like 2 days ago, and he told me, okay, if it's a big set, you just have to multiply and the number of lights or the size of the lights. And that's true. This is something I've done on this set. It's probably 800 meters, 1 kilometer long, because as you can see, I light also the background, this small Eiffel Tower, with an 18K actually. And all the back of the trees were backlit with 18Ks also, or 9Ks, plus the balloon and a few things. Yeah, it was an interesting shooting actually. It was very nice to put those images.
But that means also for these, let's say, day scenes which are not in the taking place in the mine, you still use the same lookup table.
Yeah.
So even for the scenes which are really bright light in the for the families or for the people who are fighting against the miners.
For the bourgeois. Yeah. It's like creating your own film stock, and then you don't want to change. This is very important to think this way. I think now we have the tool to create our proper look. Prior to that, you have a film stock, and you are stuck with the rendition of the film stock. And now you can take this part of the film stock and another part of the film stock, and you can stitch the film stock. Or you can say, okay, I just want the contrast characteristic of this film stock, and I want something else into highlights and something else into lowlights. This is very interesting to create the look this way. When you think about how people were working 30 years ago, flashing the neg or pushing into pull process to try to have something different. We have great tool today, and we should take control on that. This is a way to take the control on the picture actually, not shooting with a Rec 709 standard,
So and then when you went into post, because you had already the look using on set, so was it, or have you been nearly there when you started the color grading?
Yeah, we started the color grading with the look. For those who are, it was on DaVinci Resolve, so the look was at the end of the nodes, and we did everything else before. And so we color correct a lot actually, but it was very nice to have the look, because no discussion about the look. The discussion were about, okay, are we going a bit warmer or a bit lighter, or maybe please Karim save this sequence, because it was a nightmare about the lighting and everything, and I had 3 cameras and all the cameras shooting in every direction, and the stops were not the same, so please help me. But yeah, the creative part was kind of very present already, and you just have to finish, to polish. At the same time on TV series, this is only 2 days and a half for 52 minutes. Color grading, so you don't have so many time to find your look. So the good way to have your look is to find it at the beginning of the show. This is you don't have choice, because you can spend probably 2 days just finding your look, And sometimes you find something episode 1 and you go to episode 6, and the post-production say, okay, episode 1 this is already done. We have to release things for other people, in post-production facility. So you can't go back on episode 1. Sometimes it happens, not on Germinal, but so you are going to episode 6 and you say, oh, this is very nice, please can you come back to episode 1, and we try to do it again. But it's a good starting point to have this look and to work this way.
Okay, any other questions?
Hi. Can you talk about how much time do you have at night shooting for these large locations before you really start to shoot to balance the lights? Because sometimes, you know, it gets very stressful to set up the lights and then you have to balance them.
Yeah, it was that night was a crazy night. I think I asked for something like 4 hours of pre-lighting the same day with another crew of electrical and grips, and then we switched to the normal crew for the shooting. Yeah, it depends on Germinal. This is still TV series. You have to manage the time, you know. You have to pay attention. When you do all your sequences in a day, you have to say, okay, I have 6 sequences to do today, and I have 4 of them very nice. Probably the 5th and the 6th, I will go a bit, you know, because I don't want to do extra hours because this is very expensive. You have to think, when you do TV series, you have to think about, this is probably €6,000 for 1 hour with this crew, so you can't do that much. After 1 week, producer come to see you. You have to think about the time. You have to manage how many sequences are good now. Am I far from what I want or no? And this is always kind of this management. But yeah, on this that sequence was really big, so it was a long time. But most of the time, it's 1 hour, 1 hour and a half for pre-lighting in the morning. And then we have a lot of sequences to do, and we change probably 2 or 3 times by day of set, you know. So I light everything on floor plan. I do all my lighting plans. Everything. I have probably 250 for light plans for Germinal. It's kind of, you know, after probably the 8 weeks of the first 8 weeks, you say, okay, this is everybody's so happy with my light plan, but I want to stop now, and so I continue because of them. But it's also a good way, because when you don't have so much time on TV series, if you are searching for something on set, this is kind of, you are already late. So that's good to know where you want to go with your sequence and all the artistic direction and ambiances you talk with the director. It's very good to know. And then you do things. Sometimes it don't work. Doesn't work, sorry. And but to think about your light on a 2D paper, it's kind of interesting for me, I think. For one episode, this is 10 days and a half, or 11 days, I don't remember.
There's a question over there.
Do you use any filtration apart from NDs? And also, how do you work with haze and smoke?
Yeah, that's a good question. We worked a lot with haze and smoke. One of our references was Heaven's Gate from Michael Cimino, this Western with big shaft of lights. So I had the idea in the prep because we like the look with big shaft of lights, but I say, okay, it's kind of hurting the eye of the miners, you know. So I wanted every set with miners, daytime, to be like with big shaft. With light hurting the eyes, and for the bourgeois world, everything was softer, you know, with bigger windows. So in both cases, we used smoke, but not the same way. I didn't use any other filtration in daytime, but for nighttime, I use glimmer bronze. Yes, glimmer bronze for all the candles and all those stuff, to have a slight glow of warmness. But this is the only filtration because those lenses, they are very soft, actually. And I was, for old women, I was like opening 2.8, under 2.8 slightly, you know, adjusting the diffusion with the lens. And also on Germinal, the thing, you know, when you always want a beautiful bokeh, you know, so you open and this is beautiful, wow, my bokeh, but you can't see anything about the sets. So it was a new way of working because prior to that, I was doing TV series into Paris, you know, and Paris sometimes you want to open because this is a bit dirty in the background. So on Germinal, it was into the other sense. I closed a lot more, you know, like 5.60, 5.6 to see the sets, because the sets were really beautiful, and that's very good to be able to think this way, to take care of the sets, you know. So yeah, filtration.
Any other question?
Yeah.
One over there. Microphone is coming.
I liked your idea of using, I'm going back, using a ND3 to have a reserve to open it up if the director wants 50. Normally you use a shutter of 180 degrees.
Yeah.
And opening up to 360 was no?
No. Never. I don't like the movement.
Yeah.
Rendition when you open the shutter. I don't like those kind of things. I can close the shutter into the other way to bring some more action when the camera is like moving. So I can go to 90, for example, but I don't. No, I don't open the shutter. This is kind of. I prefer to be underexposed, you know.
Okay.
Another one.
No problem at all. Coming.
Thank you. I don't know if anyone can answer this, but it's a TV series, obviously.
Yeah.
Do you ever take into account, or do you have somewhere in your brain, the fact that it will be watched on random TVs?
Yeah.
At home, I think, watching your pictures here, I think my TV is not perfectly set, because I need to go back and watch again. I didn't have this feeling when I watched here on France 2.
Yeah, I know about that. You always know about that. You can't do anything.
So sorry
against
for
this.
bringing that up.
No. It's a good question, but no, we were thinking about the size of the shot actually. If it's too wide, the action on the small screen, as you know, yeah. So no, but apart from that, we were working like for a feature film actually, with the same color pipeline, being into ACs. Using XOCN 4K, doing the only difference is the color grading, because it was on a small screen, like a 30-inch screen. But apart from that, it was like on a feature film actually. The same lenses, same camera, same everything, and we had some discussion about blacks, you know, with the French TV network. Yeah, how much is it going to be black? Did you see our references? Did you see where we want to go? No, we had references. I mean, we had, so we gave the reference to French TV network, and they say, okay, this is nice, but is it going to be so dark, you know? And this is printed picture, so or you can send them, but you say, okay, it's going to be dark, but I will try. That was a big discussion with director David Hourrègue. We wanted some very harsh and profound black, but we also always try to manage to have something very bright into the frame, like a lamp or an eye or a part of a face, to give the feeling, to give something to watch to the eye, actually. And that's very interesting when you do something, when you light for very dark scenes, to have very bright elements, not the whole picture underexposed, you know, the whole picture under the 30% of the signal. It's kind of, but when you do this with very bright punch, it's very interesting. And we actually, my colorist wanted to go darker, so he tried something darker for mines. And David, the director, came into the screening room and he said, oh, okay, it's maybe a bit too dark. Can you go a bit more up? And then we looked to the digicut to see what we have done into the rushes, actually. And it was exactly the same. So David wanted to go back to the things we have done on set. And we had no discussion about that with the network after that, actually.
Yes, I already got the microphone. So the interesting question about the TV and such, I'm sure Sony can help everybody with TVs, but that's another thing. The actual point about the broadcasters, everybody has all the different broadcasters have different playout servers and a different workflow, what happens before the playout server. So my question was, did you engage with your broadcaster what happened in the playout process when you made the decisions of the look and the actual scenes that you were producing? Because it's, to my understanding, a lot of broadcasters do things differently.
Yeah, French TV, the French TV network, France 2, is not the most advanced in terms of technology or choice of, you know, the things they gave to you. This is very like, give me something in HD. Rec 709. Yeah, but you can work in ACs, but then the final release is Rec 709, but it's okay. And so we pushed for 4K master, actually. They didn't ask for 4K master. So we pushed for that, for 4K mastering, for DCP and for TV. And we had some discussion about the look, about how is it going to look, actually, but it was very simple discussion. This is not Netflix. This is not Amazon. Sorry? Yeah, it's going. Yeah, it's going to be. I think it's going to be on. Yeah. But yeah, that's a good question. I think Netflix and Amazon, they are pushing things very in a good direction actually, because they want ACs for everything. They want HDR. Even if you are not going to use the full range of the HDR, you are working into a very good color space. So this is kind of a good idea to push things, you know, having a negative in 4K, being able to use it later. It's kind of a big reflection about everything we are shooting, and they are putting some rules, but this is not silly rules, you know.
You still have...
Sorry, it's much better. So I got a question about VP, virtual production. Would you change, for instance, some of the location to virtual production?
On Germinal, you mean, if I had choice? That's a good question. Maybe for, yeah, but you have to do some, on a wide shot, it could be tricky, you know? So wide shots, I don't know, and I have wide shots everywhere, so I don't know, but yeah, why not? Actually, for night work, it could have been done into the forest, for example. It could have been a good idea. We have a sequence with a carriage and people, and this is very close up, so yeah, it could have worked. And for water, no. Because you have water everywhere, I think it's not working. Yeah, into the mines, probably it could have been an idea. Small, yeah, I don't know. This is, I didn't think about that. But yeah, that's a good tool. Yeah.
It's a very good tool, and I'm very interested in your opinion.
I had one example. We have one sequence in winter, and we used a little girl in the middle of the field. But it was not really winter for us. So we changed everything into VFX, into snow, we changed the background, we changed the sky. So yeah, in this situation, it could have been better with a virtual set, for example. Simple
do you think the scouting for the location will change more for preparation for future, for virtual production?
Yeah, it's going to change. Yeah, I think it's going to change because you are going to think about virtual kind of production. You can't tell them it's going to be virtual production. They are going to say, oh, man, what? We have the set. Why? What an idea, you know what I mean? But yes, now it's going to, yeah, we think about that when we prep for cars, for example, cars work and things like that. Yeah. It's automatically something that you talk about, yeah.
Sorry, I just follow up one more question about that because I'm very curious of your opinion. So, because pre-production, with the virtual production, pre-production is very important.
Yeah.
So many shots is actually happening on the pre-production of previews. So sometimes you need to imagine how you will shoot this in the future with the actors.
Yeah.
But you need to shoot this before. how you feel about that, like shooting some spaces to put later on to the Unreal Engine.
Oh, I think it's going into the good direction, because that means that you think about what you are going to do, you know. I'm for improvisation, but I can say that it's always better to prep a lot. So yeah, when you do virtual production, you have to prep really a lot, you know, and you have to know very precisely what you want. So it's kind of interesting, even on a philosophical point, you know, to, okay, oh no, we have to think about all those points before. Wow. Yeah, for me, it's a good thing. But you have, on a traditional production, you have to think about, is it necessary or not? But it's a new tool, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry, because we can talk about this.
No, but that's a good question. This is prep. And I remember in 2016, I did a training in Los Angeles in a Global Cinematography Institute with Yuri Neyman and other GPs from the AFC. And they were showing us, like, you know, big diagram of how a movie is prepped now. And you have this for the prep, this for the shooting, and this for the post. And they were showing us the same diagram, probably 15 years prior to that. And it was kind of, you know, prep time was like this, and shooting and post. And now you see that the post and after is kind of a big part of the production, of the whole production. And
yeah, definitely.
So, yeah.
There is no time anymore.
Yeah, no, actually the time is at another place. You have to think a lot before. You have to prep very meticulously. This is very interesting time, I think.
Great, thank you so much.
But I think you already put a lot of effort in, even with a proper stage, into pre-production, because using a color scientist, taking actors to see how...
Yeah, but a test for one day's shooting with the actor, this is simple. Color scientist, it could be, oh, like, wow, how can I work? Color scientist, this is between 5,000 or 10,000 euros. On a 12 million production, I think you can find maybe 2 days to think about that, you know what I mean? So, and try to do your look before. On this kind of production, it's obvious, but I've also did it on smaller one, because now you can easily find a DaVinci Resolve and try to work with your colorist and do a little something, at least, to try to think about something. So yeah, it's on Germinal, I had the opportunity to push things a bit further away.
It looks amazing. As said, so the pilot will be
the pilot is
today?
In the TV series competition, so it will be the screening is at
today,
Cinema City at
8:15.
Yeah,
today.
And tomorrow in a Tumult Foundation at 11, and there will be also a Q&A after that, so I will be there.
Yeah. Otherwise, if no more open questions are left, thank you for joining the seminar.
Yeah.
And listening to the experience of Dennis from Xavier.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye-bye.